Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engaged. Engaged. Yes, hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome. Did I say hello and welcome? In case I missed it, hello and welcome. And I do mean it. Hello and welcome here to Operation Status Quo on a beautiful, I know I say this every day, a beautiful, happy, what's today? Tuesday, because every day is a beautiful, happy day if you allow it to be. Even if you're miserable, it still can be a beautiful, happy day because it's really all up to you. And that's the kind of stuff we talk about here on Operation Status Quo. I am Pete Palma. I am your user-friendly host. This is a space where we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life. And then, of course, we create our own flow of quo-yo because that's the only way to go. So today is, what is today? Today is the 20th. Is it the 20th, right? Yeah, it is the 20th. The 20th of June, the good year 2023. Hello and welcome once again. Today's program is entitled The Fall of America. Ooh, doesn't that sound so I don't know, ominous, as it were? So anyway, basically the concept here of, well, first of all, let me just remind people, if you're new, hello, welcome. Thank you for taking the time to stop by. A brief reminder that we are just merely observing what goes on in life in this space. This isn't a space to get all angry, although I do get a little angry sometimes, but we all do, don't we? But in general, it's really a space to just allow people to look at what's going on in the world and to kind of get a feel for things, express your thoughts. It's a safe place to just hang out and just kind of talk about things without getting all wrapped up and, serious about everything. Because our world is way too serious. And, we're trying to work our way through all this oppression and transition and everything else that's going on in today's world. So, but anyway, the fall of America, and the concept here today, ladies and gentlemen, is it's a pretty simple one, really, and it goes back to everything that we generally talk about here on Operation Status Quo, as far as the lies and the lies we've been fed, all not just in our generation, but even over many generations, as to our true essence, our true power, and all that type of thing. let me all that type of thing. But America, to me, and I've talked about this, kind of before. I just always got a kick out of the whole idea of America, because to me, more America is more like an idea than anything else, right? So basically, it was a country that was started, what we're told is, people wanted to be free from religious oppression. So they, came to America to live their way, and they didn't want to be under the monarchy and this, that, and the other type of thing. And of course, I've spoken on this before. That's what this is why it's so ironic to me, because, the people who came here for freedom, right? And then they came here for freedom, and they basically took over the space, didn't work with the indigenous people that were here. Maybe they did a little bit at first, and then decided, we're just going to take it all and, kind of push you guys off to the side. And I've gotten into that. I know I talked about one of the other episodes I did called America the Commercial, which is kind of basically talking about the same thing I'm saying right there. But the deeper detail I kind of wanted to express today was basically more in the idea of, hold on a second, this light is going a little crazy back here. I think I hit the wrong button on that. We got to slow that. Let me do this over here. I got to make sure, with the lights, ladies and gentlemen, because when I first started the show, if you go back and watch some of the older episodes, I had the lights in a different configuration, and they were like flashing all over the place, and people told me it was distracting them and giving them seizures. I think I may have actually killed off a few small families based on my lighting. So I did change it to try to make it a little more suitable for the general population. So I see they're nice and easy switching colors. We don't want to make anybody too upset. But what I want to get back to is the fall of America. And what I mean by it is, the interesting thing is, the way they tricked everybody, which I find, fascinating, very great, very good plan, the way they did it too, is taking really the heart of humanity, our true soul. This country is built on work ethic and entrepreneurism and such. And people who came here from other countries, even my family, my grandparents were born here, but their parents, so my great grandparents, who I met during the early years of my life before they passed, but they were the ones that first came here. A lot of times, even like my great grandfather, he came over first and got himself kind of established, and then was able to send for his wife and my grandparents, or whatever you want to say. So it took all that time of building, but it was at that time, it was a space where people knew they can come here, they could work hard, there was an opportunity to get a job and all that rigmarole. I'm not, I wasn't alive back then, so I don't know how true it is or isn't, like, how much was manipulated back then. I'm sure there were, everything's been manipulated for multiple generations. So that's what I'm trying to say. They start slow with everything, right? So like, they create this space they call America. It's a land of freedom. It's a land of opportunity. And, everybody comes here, they work hard and they build a life, and it all comes from these true values. And the country, then becomes this image of, of all those true values. And what's it turned into over time? We became like a superpower. Then we became like the police of the world, until like now we're back like in the Roman days, when we just go around and, just take whatever we want from everybody. But what the main point of it is, like, they used the heart of humanity, is how I feel. Like they know that. I got to stop saying they all the time because it sounds so. But powers that be and such. There are bigger forces at play that plan these things out over multiple generations, and they know like the nature of humanity more so than we know our own nature, because we're not thinking that way, right? Like I know myself. I don't really think much about like wanting things or what is there to accomplish and do, or a bucket list or all that type of stuff. Like my general thought process is like, I really just want to be around people. I want to talk to people. I want to hear their stories. My goal in life is, what can I do to give people space to feel empowered and happy with themselves, that they can overcome whatever challenges are in their life. Not that, obviously I'm no better than anybody else, but I just see from that perspective, and I meet people, and I hear sometimes some of their stories, and they feel so weighed down by what's going on in the world and what they have to do to get by. And I don't know, I just, from the way I've lived and the way I perceive, and that's why I do this show, just trying to be like that, that beacon, that lighthouse, that beacon of light in the middle of the ocean that says, don't crash into the rocks. You don't have to, it's okay. But anyway, that's kind of like my perspective of like how I think every day. Most people obviously are, over time have gotten so caught up in the rat race of like what it means to be successful. The American dream is what now? Like the American dream is so commercialized in the sense of, how much you work and how much you have, and what fancy vacation did you take, and how nice is your car, and that's all. Like, that's the American dream. I worked hard and I earned all this, and hey, that's great. I think people should have whatever they want. If you work hard or whatever the case may be, and you have money and you want to treat yourself to a fancy car or a trip across around the world or whatever it is that you want to do, I don't think there's any begrudging any of that per se. It's just more of the attachment to things and attachment to the ideas and what they mean. So again, going back, the true value, the true values, heartfelt values of humanity, that nature that we have within us, that spirit that we have within us that just wants us to live and enjoy, just be, basically just be, and be nice to each other and all that type of thing. Did this light go crazy on me again? Like, I wonder if something's, I apologize. I shouldn't be so I'm like the craziest ADD in the world sometimes. Like, I've never been officially diagnosed, but I mean, I'd have to think in some regard there's a little something tricky going on in my brain, because I just all of a sudden notice things that, and then, it's like the squirrel, the squirrel runs over here and then the squirrel runs over there, But anyway, back to trying to stay on task if I could. Basically, they took those values, those ideas that people have, and built this country, right? So, and now on the back of that, they've continued onward, but now it's they screwed it all up, right? It started nice, people coming over from another country, working hard, building the infrastructure, doing jobs, do. The country builds, becomes a world power, all that kind of thing, But that was all like they used people, they snookered them, as it were, by making them believe that what they were doing was a genuine purpose. But basically on the backside of things, they were always building towards the domination, of what goes on. Again, this always goes back to we have to remember that it's not about countries. You've got to forget about China versus Russia versus this country versus that country, and all these type of things. All the countries, it doesn't matter. There's groups of people that basically own everything and have control over everything. And it's easy to say, let's throw a dart at the board today and F up Venezuela. Let's throw a dart at the board today and screw up Spain. That's like just kind of how it has nothing to do with the actual. They always make it like it's, this country's an aggressor and it did this and this and that and the other. But, really, to me, that is like a total BS. I don't feel that is the way it goes at all. Basically, there's a conglomerate of who's in charge. The United States is the military operation. London is the banking. And I've said all this before, too. And the Vatican is just basically the leaders and the evil leaders of it all behind the scenes. So they took those values of America, of good people who wanted to work hard, and they built this country, right? And then now they're able to flip that. And because this country is still this idea, they still keep pushing, our democracy and our freedom and this and that and the other. And people don't even realize that they don't have any like freedom at all, in a sense, right? Like, and how other countries are, see that light going fasting? Is that me? Am I out of my mind? Because I'm looking at this screen here and the light was just going fast again. Was it not? Am I crazy? Am I going to turn these lights off so I can concentrate and do this damn show? Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen. Now, hey, if you know me and you've been sticking with me, maybe you appreciate the little, quirkiness of this program and the little idiosyncrasies that I have that make me, quirky in the way that I am. But it's a fun quirkiness, it's a fun quirkiness. So the point I'm making, if I'm making any kind of point at all, is that I feel the same values that they used against us to create this facade of freedom and everything else. Those are the same values that are coming to fruition today that I feel are going to save us, basically, because as everything is happening since, COVID, we see how the world has been changing and everything that's been going on. And more people are awakening to different levels of truths that they didn't really even think about before. And, and that's not a criticism on anybody because, as much as I was always kind of against the system, until COVID happened, I really was doing the same type of things everybody else. I always spoke out against. I didn't get too involved. But, I went to work every day and I was doing that normal, kind of rat race life in a way. And people just were, I don't want to say blind to it, but, at the end of the day, even if even if everything's kind of corrupt, what are you going to do, right? I'm just saying, who has the power to do that? Again, the way they create our commercialized society of products and materialism and Hollywood and everything else that keeps us all divided and stupid, really, it does. And me too, right? It keeps us, every time I watch some TV, honestly, and I'm watching a show, I'm thinking I shouldn't even be watching this, right? Like, why am I dumbing myself down? But I'm big on those old shows. I like my Three's Company and that Barney Miller. I was watching some Barney Miller last night. And I watch reruns of Johnny Carson. I can't even watch a lot of the new stuff, to be honest with you, because I'm just not interested. And, I guess I'm getting old. But anyway, what's happening now, what a great, I don't know. You tell me as the audience, I reach out, I try to share a message. How empowered, do you feel when you look what's going on in the world today? Do you see, does it make you feel better in a way? Do you feel encouraged? Even though everything looks like it's falling apart and collapsing, because this is the fall of America. That's why this show today is entitled The Fall of America, but it's not the fall of of truth. It's not the fall of the heart of mankind or anything like that. It's the the fall of the fake, the fall of the idea, that they created, or the commercial that I talked about in that other show I did, America the Commercial. You can go back and, and check that one out too, which is kind of along the same lines of this topic. It's just that, they created this facade that we live in using people, hardworking, good people who are trying to, build a life, have a family, just share with their neighbors, all that kind of thing. And they took all that, built this country, take over the world, make America hated, basically, from, a lot of the stuff they do. And then on top of it, the American dream, and they create a financial system that basically sucks you dry every which way till Sunday, and then probably till Monday too, because they're working overtime on that, So that's the kind of point I'm trying to make, and the heart that we have within ourselves now, basically is, that's what's coming back. I feel like the old generations where, they just had that work ethic and took care of business. America kind of got so, pacified and dumbed down and over all this time. And now since COVID happened, and, some people are kicking and screaming against it, and I get it. It's not easy to admit you've been snookered, and it's not easy to, take responsibility in certain ways to make changes, and it starts to maybe feel overwhelming. Like, what kind of changes can I even make, So I don't know. What do you guys think? If you're out there watching right now, feel free to drop something in the chat and let me know what you think about these ideas. What do you see in the world, in your own day-to-day? Like, do you pay attention at all? Do you see people thinking differently from what your day-to-day was like before COVID, before the past, the nonsense of these last couple of years? I see it personally. I mean, maybe because I'm trying to tune into that, and I direct what I watch and, all that, and what I listen to, what I read, more down that type of way, because I'm looking for that, right? I'm personally looking for, what does it take for all of us to join together to, to free ourselves from this propaganda? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I'm a big believer that we, all deserve to be happy. It's not about how much money, it's not about how much stuff, forget about all that stuff, right? I mean, that's how I feel personally. I mean, everybody likes nice things. I'm not against any of that, It's just the idea that America was built, and then it all became about stuff, right? I mean, it was like, okay, first it was about, quote unquote freedom. Then it became about stuff, right? And then after the stuff, then they go and, start pushing other countries around and trying to indoctrinate them into the Western culture just to sell more stuff, right? So it's like, trying to, we got to get Coca-Cola over into those countries, it's like, I don't know, maybe Iraq doesn't want Coca-Cola, I don't know, maybe they're interested in other things. So long story short, and as I say, long story even longer, because, I tend to do that. I love you. Let me give a little round of applause, by the way. I know we've got some people out there watching right now, and I just want to say I love you. I love you, and thank you for being here. And I definitely appreciate it. And please, drop something in the comments and tell me, if I'm making any kind of sense. Actually, you're probably better off, because I already know that most likely I'm not making too much sense. But I hope at least my ranting and raving and my crazy personality are keeping you entertained at the very least. So seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to encourage everyone out there to be their best, to see through what's going on. And I think we're going to see a lot of things that are going to come across as the appearance of, like, the decline of America, or, it looks like, America's not the same position that it was before or whatever. But nothing is like loss. I never see it that way. Everything is like transition, right? I just, other countries were running the world before America. They're still there. They didn't go anywhere. The political landscape changed. The, economic landscape changed. But I mean, I think it's all done, behind the scenes, purposely. Again, I don't see anything in terms of countries as far as this border, that border. The people who have the means to do the things they do are not seeing it that way, and it's not about, we got to protect America from this, or we got to, fight, it's just, they don't care. Like, the people who are really making all this shit go on, they don't care if America becomes a third world nation or stays where it is overall. And in actuality, I think they would do it on purpose. Like, they either keep it it the way it is, or they make it become a third world nation. What you see has been going on over this time between the the open borders and the inflation and the de-dollarization and I mean it's just like out of control. And the other countries that are working to the BRICS nations working to try to find their own economic way without having to be reliant on the U.S. dollar. It goes into all this stuff. But the bottom line and the main point of everything that I'm sharing here today, or trying to share at least, is that it's about us. We're good, the nature of humanity, right? Like good, hardworking people, the nature of humanity, and how that's like manipulated, right? Manipulated. So we always have to be mindful and pay attention to what we're being told, what we're being sold, because we need more autonomy. Like I don't even understand overall like why people even want to accept the level of government intrusion that we have in our world. Like, do we really need all this government overseeing everything? I was just telling this story the other day. When I was in Bali, Indonesia, and I was at this hot springs right in there, and the hot springs, well, they're hot springs, right? But up at the top, there was like a little restaurant, like at the top of this kind of cliff, at the top of the rocks. Nice little tables outside, nice tile floor, but you can look right over the side, and it was like jagged rocks all the way down into the water, right? And up there was no railing or any kind of protection. Like if you slipped and fell and went over the side, it's like sayonara. You know what I mean? But I'm laughing because like here in America, the way things are, everything is so like litigious, and other places people are responsible for themselves. It's almost like, hey, listen, you want to climb up here, no problem, we got a spot for you to sit. You want to F around and act like a jackass, then you fall over the side and you fall down into the rocks, and that's it. And they're not like worried about, there's not like 6 lawyers coming around to say, oh, you should have had a railing up here. Like they don't give a shit. Some years ago I dated a girl that was from Belarus, and she said like you would tell me all the time, it's not like here in America where you go into a state park or this, or you go here that you can't get into you're blocked off, you can only go in this space, you have to pay to go here, and and you get fined if you do this and fined if you do that. She said you go into the woods or something over there, Russia or whatever, it's like, well, go do what you want to do, and if you get lost, I mean, you're on your own. Either a bear's going to get you, maybe you get out. Nobody's sending the helicopters looking for you. So I mean, I'm just trying to say the difference here. Like everything is so controlled and contrived. It's not freedom. So we don't need all this government. That's what I was trying to say. Think about the level of intrusion on your life by government and by all these bureaucracy that just holds up everything, even like for the betterment of our country, for building roads, keeping you see what's going on with the airlines and all recently, over these months. I mean, what's going on, right? So like, you're telling me we have all this level of government oversight for all this stuff, and we're like in worse situations that things should be better, right? If you have this much government involved with making sure the railroads, people, trains aren't like flying off the tracks, how come it's not being done, right? Because what is the purpose of all this bureaucracy? And I really think, I know it's probably worse in other places. I know China's like, crazy, with suppression of their people. But here it's done in a more, surreptitious kind of way. It's like under the guise, like, at least in China, you know that you're not free, right? North Korea, you're not effing around too much over there. It's a problem if maybe you speak your mind, But here they make it like it's okay. It's okay. You could speak your mind, but we'll just, shadow ban you online, or we'll just, delete your account, or, whatever, all this kind of like just sneaky ways of keeping people suppressed and then keeping them honed into one little space, right? Because of all the rules and the laws, and this area is shut down, like I was saying. Anyway, I don't want to get, I'm getting off topic a little bit. The point is, the heart of humanity is what's going to save us now, because people are realizing, I think things are changing. I love all you guys out there so freaking much. I want you to stay happy. I want you to stay positive, and don't be nervous as we watch America crumble around us, because as anytime something crumbles and is destroyed, what happens? We rebuild, and we rebuild better. I think somebody said that. Build back better. Didn't somebody say? Did somebody say that? He probably forgot that he said that, to be honest with you. But seriously, that's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. We are in such a space of transition. I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful, personally. You know, I think there's so much abundance to be had. There's so much love to be shared. And it's not all just like, like out in clouds kind of thing. Like, you know, practical living, responsible living, but from a place of love and faith, in a sense, as opposed to a place of, you know, fear and I don't even want to use the word greed, but it is greed in a way, because you know, we're so scared of not having, you know, and what are we scared of not having? What we've been taught we think we should have, that, you know what I mean? We've never been given the fair shake. They took the ancestors of our previous generations, the people who came here, and from their blood, sweat, and tears and their backs, you know, they built this country and then used it against us, the true values, because we were taught from those older generations, work hard, you know, and all that thing, the just, you know, the values and the work ethic, and they took that, flipped it over, you know, and then took the country, dumbed everybody down, you know, and now I think it's coming back, you know, and it's coming back. So that's what I would say, that it's the same values that built this country that they took and used against us are now the values that are, you know, coming back, that heart space, that work ethic to say, no, we're done with this. And, you know, we're done with the lies, and, you know, we're done with the propaganda, and we want to live a real life from our real heart space with some real peace and real people. And that's it. Whew. I love you guys. Have I said I love you? I love you. Remember that song? Hey-o. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here today on Operation Status Quo, where, of course, we observe the status quo, which we did. We learn to flow with the quo, which we do. And then we create our own flow of quo, because that's the only way to go. And that is up to you of how you're going to do that for yourself in your life. So let's enjoy ourselves as we watch the old paradigm collapse and the new world come to fruition before our eyes. Just tap into it. Claim your steak, as it were, you know, like you can, unless you're a vegan. That was like a kind of joke. But anyway, claim your steak of what you, you know, how you want to live and what you want to see and what you want to take into the future, because that's where we're headed. All right. So listen, if you enjoyed this in any capacity whatsoever, or enjoy any of the shows I do in any capacity whatsoever, I would be more than appreciative of your time to click like, click subscribe, and to even share it out to your friends, your family, those you love, and those you despise as well. I love each and every one of you individually as well as a group. You guys, I'm serious. It means a lot to me, and I'm happy to be here for you guys, because I just want to spread positive messages. Don't forget, you're welcome here. If there's information you want to share or a topic you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to drop me a comment. My contact information is in the description box below. That's about it for today. Have a great one. I love you guys out there. I know I said that multiple times, but I'll say it again. I love you out there. And until tomorrow, Operation Status Quo disengaged.
It's a boulevard of 10 short blocks.